Mr. Jacob Ngarivhume, the president of Transform Zimbabwe. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the program.
Thanks, my brother.
All right, so you've been released from prison, wrongfully so, because a higher court overturned your conviction. Take us through what led to that incarceration.
I was arrested in 2020, and the state was alleging that in calling for anti-corruption demonstrations, I was inciting people to commit public violence. So they charged me in 2020. Initially, I was imprisoned, only got bail after 45 days. And then the trial continued from 2020 through to 2023. The magistrate, one Feresi Chakanyuka, then convicted me of inciting the public to commit public violence and imprisoned me for 4 years. That was in April of 2023. That's what eventually then got me into prison.
Then you spent some of that time, you were taking the matter to a higher court, and then that's how you were then released.
Yes. So basically, in convicting me at the magistrate's court, it was clear that there was no evidence brought against me. The state failed to provide any evidence. More so, the law would require that for any conviction, they provide that evidence beyond reasonable doubt. And the evidence they produced, they actually were charging me. They charged me on one Twitter account, and then I was convicted on a separate Twitter account, which was very bizarre and fatal. But the magistrate did not even mind and care, because apparently she was under instruction to make sure that I'm sent away before the elections. I think that was their whole agenda. And remember, they waited from 2020 only to convict me in 2023, just before the election, which they obviously did not want me to be available for.
When you say they, who are you referring to?
I'm referring to the ZANU-PF regime, which is part of the executive. I mean, we have the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. And the executive, which is headed by Edim Nangagwa, is actually what did not want me to be out before the election was done.
A recent report by Human Rights Watch suggesting that there is politics involved in the unjust and unlawful arrests of individuals and imprisonment of individuals. Is that a common practice? Is the judiciary captured by the state?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The judiciary in this country is captured. If you look at my case, if you look at Job Sikala's case, if you look at many other political prisoners we have, like the Mtwakazi team, which I met at Harass Central Prison, decisions are not even determined in the course in which you attend. When I was incarcerated, we applied for bail pending appeal. My lawyers were confident that, we should get that bail. But interestingly, we got a bizarre judgment from one Justice Chikore. It's something that I've never seen. A judgment that included words like nonsense, stupid, referring to my legal team. It was so strange, and he was saying, there's no way that we'll have prospects of success on this. Yes, the sentencing is outrageous and it will be definitely reduced. But still, if we give him bail, he will run away because he's a party leader, he's a political party president. He will run away to faraway countries and we'll never see him. Which is so strange and bizarre, and they denied me bail. The same justice was on my appeal. And of course, my legal team then applied that he be rescued. But of course, then I went on to be acquitted. After such a vitriol judgment at my bail appeal, it's a clearly captured judiciary you have in this country, I tell you.
How high up the judiciary does it go? I mean, is it just at magistrates court level, or is it particular judges, you feel?
I think the capture actually starts and even ends with the Chief Justice himself. Our Chief Justice Luke Malava is a compromised man. Remember, he is in the Supreme Court. Initially, he was barred even by a ruling from the High Court that his term had expired and there were no opportunities for extending that term. And then, of course, after conniving and speaking to the president, they went on to force him back onto that bench. So he owes his position as Chief Justice to the president himself. And I think the instruction to a compromise then runs from him down to the lowest level. But where it gets messy and outrageous and horrible is at the magistrates' court. Our magistrates' court are more or less like kangaroo courts, if not worse than kangaroo courts. You know, evidence is not listened to. The magistrates are emotional. The lady who tried me at the magistrates court, I've never seen a justice or a member of the judiciary as angry and as emotional as she was at me. She was clearly up to business, out to make sure that I go to prison. And she was so outrageously angry at me. She was shouting, spitting, venom. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, to watch a beautiful lady like her do that, it was so heartbreaking, I tell you. But of course, it's part of the capture. It's messy at the magistrate's court.
There are a few high-profile cases like yours, Hopewell Chinono, Tsitsi Dangaremba, Job Sikala. Is it, though, an indication of a wider problem? Are there more political prisoners, perhaps, in the jails at the moment?
Yes, there are lots of political prisoners. I think at Harass Central Prison, where I was, we had, I had, a team from Twakazi, and there were 6 of them, and one of them was at the female prison in Chikurubi. So it's 7 of them. I had one Paddington Japa as well. I mean, it's a wide problem. Currently, you would have more than 10, 15, 20 political prisoners serving right now who are on appeal and so forth. So yeah, it's a wider problem that we have, that the state uses the judiciary to persecute its opponents.
Let's talk a little bit about the state of the prisons. Zimbabwean prisons have been notoriously known as being quite bad. What were the conditions that you were incarcerated under?
The conditions are horrible. A Zimbabwean prison is a condemnation to hell. I was actually thinking that this is a rehearsal for me. It was virtually a rehearsal to live in hell, and I hope I'll never have an opportunity to live in hell in post life. Let me start with like the space on which we're sleeping. You sleep in small rooms, and the rooms are full of lice. And then, of course, the space on which you sleep is very small. I think I was occupying a space only as big as 30 centimeters. And then the next person is only 30 centimeters. I mean, it's just, so each of you occupy 30 centimeters. And then besides that, apart from that, let me come to the kind of food that they serve at prison. And I was fortunate that I would not eat that food for many days. My food was coming from home. But I tell you, they just boil cabbages or vegetables. They only boil, put a little salt, and they serve it out. What also happened horribly is that because there's no fat, there's no protein in the food that they serve, then prisoners would suffer from a disease called pellagra, which is a result of deficiency of fat and protein in the body. And then the body would begin to disintegrate and eat up your skin. So I saw prisoners suffering from pellagra, huge chunks of flesh falling off their body. I tell you, I actually had to help about 5 to 7 of them. I had to feed them on my meals that I was receiving from home daily. And then they quickly recovered because all they were lacking was fat. And 21 were affected during my stay at Harass Central Prison. And of course, we had to help them. Not only that, you don't have running water and no toilet for the 17 hours that you are locked up per day. You are locked up at 3 p.m. only to be opened up at 8 a.m. And in the 17 hours that you are locked up, there's no toilet in that room that you are in. It's about 40, 50, 60 of you in that room without a toilet with running water. And what they will would do is half the time there would be a stomach outbreak whereby prisoners suffer because either they are eating contaminated vegetables and so on. And then people would be having running stomach at the corner of that room, and you stay in that condition for the next 17 hours, and then only to clean up the rooms in the morning. And in the morning, it's business as usual. It's absolutely business as usual. So these are the kind of conditions under which we're living. And to have that in the 21st century is very unfortunate, my brother.
So a dire situation for political opponents to the state, it seems. What now for you, though? You're out of jail, but are you still feeling the pressure?
I mean, coming out of a prison with those conditions, you take part of it with you because it's in your imaging. You know, the poverty I witnessed, the struggles, the suffering I witnessed, you know, for most of the prisoners, and for myself, it sticks with you. But of course, I've refused to live a captured life. You know, prison can't live in me. I've continued with my work. I'm speaking out against corruption. I'm calling on Zimbabweans, you know, observing the law, but to resist unjust laws. I've been reaching out to Zimbabweans, visiting them in compromised health facilities, and I've been saying to them, please, let us do something about our health conditions or our health facilities, especially. You know, I've been speaking out. I continue on the work and the mandate that I believe is just for me and for Zimbabweans. So it's game on, we fight on, and we keep going.
Perhaps finally, what's your message to regional bodies like SADC and maybe even the African Union?
To SADC and the African Union, you know, we are all Africans. First and foremost, you know, I've told colleagues, friends, and even my children, and I've told them all the time that, you know, first and foremost, before I am even a Zimbabwean, I'm an African. Africa is now and should now come of age. You know, brotherliness or brotherhood would not mean that I protect my brother when they are doing that which is wrong. It can't work like that. I have to step forward. I have to step up and say that which is unjust is unjust. That is being African. We have to make sure that, I mean, I call on SADC to make sure that they enforce at least the principles and guidelines to free and fair elections in Zimbabwe. The kind of election that we're coming out of, an election where there is fuzz intimidating voters, an election where ballot papers in Harare, for that matter, is delivered at 10 p.m. on polling day, whilst it has been delivered in far-reaching out areas earlier. You know, it's unacceptable. But of course, then SADC go on to ignore all those anomalies and are working with the ZANU-PF government. That is unacceptable. Africa and SADC must make sure that they enforce our laws as Africans. We are proud Africans, and we've got good laws that can serve us well. That's what we need. We don't need blind solidarity. No to blind solidarity. Africa must come of age and protect democracy and promote Africanism, which is fairness, justice, and accountability. Those are important values and virtues for us as Africans.
Mr. Jacob Ngarivhume, President of Transform Zimbabwe, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
Welcome, my brother. Thank you so much.